Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Success Innovation. Today we hear from VIRY Martino, who has led major projects such as the San Diego International Airport Terminal 1, which is about to open in September 2025, the Cross Border Xpress, a bridge connecting the Tijuana Airport with Otay Mesa in the US. Her career at Turner Construction Company began before she graduated USC. It was due to her engagement and participation in the SHPE convention. She has a master's in construction engineering management and a civil engineering degree. She shares her path as a young student going from Instituto Tecnologico de Tijuana to Southwestern Community College, leading to USC. The very important role SHPE has played from a very early stage at Southwestern led to major success through USC as well. She is now reconnecting with this major organization back in San Diego. Let's get started. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Success Innovation. Thank you for joining us. Today, we have a pre-construction manager at Turner Construction Company. She has led several major construction projects. Some notable examples that we have from her are San Diego International Airport, the new Terminal Number 1, the Cross Border Xpress, which is the bridge from Tijuana Airport to the Otay Mesa in the USA. She began her studies in Southwestern Community College and successfully transferred to USC, where she obtained her civil engineering degree and proceeded to get a master's in construction engineering management. Welcome, VIRY Martino, to Success Innovation. I hope I covered everything, but if I didn't, is there anything that you need or want to add to that short bio?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to chat with you. I would add I was born and raised in Tijuana.
Okay.
I'm a cross-border girl, born and raised, and had the fortune of being able to come across the border as a permanent resident and start my college studies at Southwestern College. So I've lived here in the Chula Vista area in San Diego for many, many years now with working with Turner. So it's really nice to have this opportunity living in a binational region where I still can stay close to my roots while, working with the wonderful opportunities here in the US.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So you lived in Tijuana, came across the border several times to school, maybe elementary school, middle school, high school. I don't know how that was. Maybe you could tell us how
Yeah.
that transition or process was, and then how did you end up going to college?
Yes. So I actually was just, raised in Tijuana. So 100% schooling in Mexico. So from kinder, elementary, middle school, I started learning English formally in middle school and in high school. And I completed my studies for high school in Tijuana and even started college in Tijuana for Instituto Tecnologico de Tijuana. So I chose my career, my degree of civil engineering there. I only completed one semester though. I think I just struggled a little bit with some of the classes, and the school was so far from where I was. I didn't have a car, I wasn't driving, so it was a bit of a challenge to have my family, my mom, just get rides to go to school. And because my dad was a U.S. citizen, he did cross the border every day to come to work in San Diego. We made the decision to immigrate. So I'm a Mexican immigrant, and I came as a student. I was 18 when I did the switch. One of my mom's sisters, my aunt, she opened the doors to her house and said, "Come live with me while you get settled at Southwestern College." So I kind of came across the border, not really knowing much about the U.S. school system. It was very foreign to me. But I, was so lucky to have a wonderful counselor who guided me and helped me figure the whole process out, like what's community college and the plan for transferring.
Okay, so you're coming across the border because your dad, everybody immigrates because
Mhm.
of that reason, right? And
Yeah.
you completed one semester at Instituto Tecnologico de Tijuana, but
Yes.
you were having a little bit of a difficulty there. And all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're here in the US now, 18
Mhm.
years old, and the college that you attend or the community college is Southwestern Community College, and you are trying to find information. how do I apply, matriculate, register? What classes do I
Hmm.
take? So obviously, you go to the main office, they refer you
Hmm.
to a counselor. I'm assuming it's a counselor that is assigned to you because of your last name and or degree pursuance. And all of a sudden they guide you and they tell you this is the coursework that you should start taking. You can transfer, you could do this, etc., etc. So when they actually tell you you should take this curriculum in order to
Hmm.
transfer. I remember a couple, maybe a few years ago, and I still think in Southwestern Community College they still do this. They either have a tag program or they have for San Diego State and or
Yeah.
for UCSD. Did they give you an option, and how did you decide? Because you didn't know the schools at large. So walk us through that process.
Yeah, yeah. So I was assigned with my counselor, and I already knew the degree I wanted to pursue. I wanted to be an engineer, I wanted to be a civil engineer. And I followed the process for the San Diego State program that would align with the credits that could transfer from the 2-year program at Southwestern College into San Diego State. I did apply and was accepted there. But when I think when I shared the story with my counselor, I shared my grades. I was always a little bit of let's just say very studious, just a bookworm growing up. So I had, perfect tens because in Mexico, your A is 10. So I was always having like really good grades. And he kind of saw a spark in me. Like he saw something that I didn't even know where I could go. So he saw the potential. And I remember that he had the transfer program. It was all like written by hand, like here are all the classes that you have to take. And he wrote in there USC. He's like, you're gonna apply to USC. You're gonna go to USC. I mean, to be completely honest, I thought he meant USD here in San Diego. I didn't really even understand what USC was in LA. And so I followed the process and I applied there. And I applied to UC Berkeley as well. So I just focused on schools with like really good civil engineering programs. And I eventually, when I was accepted to USC, it was kind of a no-brainer. But I learned to also look for scholarship opportunities and opportunities for funding, because it's not cheap to go to USC, but it was a seed I think that the counselor planted, really early on. And as I learned more, I did more networking. I joined engineering clubs ship actually. Like I was a president of that at Southern College during my time there. So I really got to learn about everything else that you can do beyond just coming in and fulfilling a program.
Okay, okay, that's great. So through that whole process, you mentioned
Hmm.
SHIP, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, which is this organization right here.
Yeah.
Um, so Mexico doesn't have this organization, right? So
No.
what did this mean to you? What doors did it actually open? What opportunities did you actually see and take for yourself?
With ship,
Yes.
I think it was a process of blossoming, of growing, I didn't like speaking in English. Like I gravitated. Southwestern College is in a community here closer to the border, so we have a lot of Spanish speaking, a lot of Hispanic community. It's actually there's um classification I think called like Hispanic serving community or Hispanic community serving institution.
HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution, right?
Yes, and so I was surrounded with people that looked like me that spoke my language. However, when you look at yourself like throughout the bigger picture in the U.S., especially as a woman and in engineering, like you're kind of like growing and like going to that minority group and understanding how to learn how to navigate the culture where you might not see those folks that look like you, that might not understand your story as an immigrant family, or that is understanding and bringing that family, that community through ship, and providing resources to be better, to fix your resume, to practice for an interview, to especially like learning how to do public speaking. and how to grow your leadership skills, your soft skills, and at a smaller level, but then making them larger. And when you go to leadership like Mila, gosh, I'm going back years. Like I'm going to conferences and really networking. Like to me, it was the stepping stone that really helped me get to that next level of being able to apply to an institution such as like USC, that they saw that there was a lot of talent, but I think that I had all that support from my ship family. Like it was huge in my growth.
So if it was huge, can you share with us one of the biggest, one or two of the biggest lessons that you took away from being the president at Southwestern Community College as you were about to step off into and transition into USC?
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't take just one person, it takes a team. Like it truly is. It's a team effort. I yes, I had the role of being the president of the club, but there was like the whole entire support system of officers, and we all had a role, and we had to respect our roles and support each other. And I think that's what it is. Like you really are able to translate that not just to your personal life, but your professional life as well. That it's never going to be just one person, and you can be the smartest person in the room or not, but if you don't know how to work with others and how to collaborate for the better good to find that synergy, like nobody wants to work with you. So that's been one of the biggest things that I remember learning.
Okay, all right. So now you transfer into USC. You're from
Mhm.
Tijuana, you moved across the border to Chula Vista, border town. Culture is very similar. A
Yeah.
little bit more English in Chula Vista. You're going to Southwestern Community College, predominantly a lot of Spanish is spoken there, right? But all of a sudden you go to USC. What
Yeah.
was the culture there? What was the biggest shocker? What was the experience as you transitioned your first semester into USC?
Yeah. Moving away, I think moving away from being a young Hispanic woman, moving away from my family to do this was a big step of like gaining that independence. I felt ready though. But USC, it's in South Central and in LA. So for me, it was like, it felt like being right back at home. So the outside of the actual campus itself, like I felt so comfortable going to the market, going to like the local businesses because it's Los Angeles, a very heavily Hispanic community in there. So that was wonderful to me because it made me feel right at home. But on campus, it was something else. Like I felt like I was in a movie set. Sometimes it felt surreal. Like I'm riding my bike, I'm going to campus from my apartment that I was on off campus, and I just remember almost pinching myself several times, like, oh, I am really here. This is like a school. This isn't, a movie set. Like this isn't what I see on like on the big screen. And but it helped me, own it. Like I was always so excited to go to school there. Like I really felt like I belonged. And I think that I would say I found a really good community of friends through a lot of like international students, and that was also my community. I joined SHIP there as well, and Engineers Without Borders. So the student life is very active. So I was quickly able to find friends that I aligned with, that understood what it meant to come from another country. Yes, we were close in Mexico, but still, like it is a change coming into a big school.
Right. So you mentioned once again, SHIP comes up, right? Student org.
Hmm.
Southwestern
Yeah.
Community College, you were there, you plugged
Yeah.
in, and then you go to USC. So there's a chapter there, and you
Yeah.
plug into them, and
Hmm.
they welcomed you, right? So I'm
Yeah.
assuming that was a stepping stone also to get situated, to feel welcome, to get
Yes.
plugged into the culture at USC as a student. Okay, that's
Yes.
interesting.
The continuity. I mean, it was wonderful because a very similar structure. We were going to the same conferences. So it was an immediate, it was a no-brainer.
Okay, good. So you already knew some of those individuals or had knowledge of, okay, I know so and so. At least I've seen them at the conferences and or
Mhm.
conventions and or NILA, the National Institute of Leadership Academy. That's there that
Yes.
takes place. So that's more or less how it happened. Okay, good, good. So when you're there, you finish your bachelor's in civil
Mhm.
engineering, right? And then you decide to pursue a master's in construction engineering management. Can you tell us what that is and why and how did you decide to pursue that?
Yes. Well, I would say I have to step a little bit back because I chose civil engineering. I wanted to be an urban planner. I wanted to kind of work on our cities wherever I lived and making sure that we're developing to the best possible way for, just human nature, like trying to figure out where do you put a park? How big should the park be? Was this a stop sign? Is this a stoplight? Like that was something that I wanted to work on. And I worked as an intern while I was still at Southwestern with Caltrans, the California Department of Transportation, as an intern. And because I had opportunities of working on programs and projects that had, you know, they aligned with that urban planning type of focus. But when I went to USC, I was fortunate to be recruited as an intern with Turner Construction, my current company. So they actively recruit on campus. I had already met folks from Turner Construction through a ship conference that I was a volunteer on the committee. So there was some alignment in there. And once I started that internship, and this is commercial construction, so very different from the government side that I was doing with Caltrans, it opened up a world to a very fast-paced construction world that I was immediately just attracted to. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It's high stress, but it is a lot of fun. Every day is an adventure. So I started working. I at Turner one year after I completed my first year at USC that I had transferred. So that first summer, and then I came back to school and returned to Turner, that following summer and stayed working with them full time. Not full time. Well, I was still a student, but I was doing part-time internship during my school year. So the master's program was offered through USC. It's called a progressive degree program. So it's an ability while you're a student, that you're still a senior, you can apply to this program and you get your master's, but you're able to start the master's program while you're a senior. So by the time I graduated, I already had completed about half of my master's program in construction, engineering, and management. So I was I had an offer for a full-time job with Turner, so that I accepted. And so my first year working full-time at Turner, I was completing, that kind of second half of my master's program. But, this was a degree that was growing a lot. This facet of civil engineering, of doing construction and construction management, was just becoming sort of a thing. They weren't bachelor's degrees yet on it. I think San Diego State has one now that is an actual bachelor's degree in construction management. But back then, this is 2010 when I got out of my graduated from my bachelor's, it was just a master's. But it was so specific, and it was in an industry that I was already part of, that I already enjoyed. So it was really an opportunity to dive deeper into some of the things that we deal with in construction: scheduling, estimating, sustainability, construction law. It was very, very specific, but it was huge in my growth early on in my career.
Wow. Okay, that's really, really good. So you mentioned that you were working with Turner with an
Hmm.
internship and then they extended an offer for the following year, but during that last senior year at USC, you started your management engineering management masters, and then you graduated, but you continued. When you were with Turner, how did they work with your flexibility, with your schedule? Did they also offer tuition reimbursement for that? Was it retroactive? Was it just for that remaining part of the year coursework? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, no, they do. I'll start with the last question. Turner does have a benefit of tuition reimbursement. You can use it once you've had 1 year of service with the company. So you've been employed with them for a year, and it actually extends to internship. So by the time I started full time, I already had 2 years of service with the company because I had started 2 summers before, even though I took a break in between to go back to school. So to me, that was an incredible benefit. It wasn't retroactive, but my senior year while I did part of my master's degree, I was a full-time student, so my tuition wasn't any different. But for that 1 year of doing the master's while I was a full-time professional, I did get most of it paid. So I was able to use my full, like, the tuition reimbursement benefit is by calendar year. So I did a fall semester and then a spring semester. So I was able to take the maximum for the calendar year for the fall and then for the spring again. So I almost, didn't pay almost anything for it, but they were very supportive. I spoke with my managers at the time, and I did come in earlier, twice a day. I mean, thankfully, master's degree classes are in the evening. They were in person. It was twice a week. So I would come in like an hour earlier into work and leave an hour earlier so that I had time to commute back to campus and take my evening classes. I would buy myself a sandwich during lunchtime, save half of it, which I would, eat on my drive to school. It was a bit of a scramble, and I would do my homework during lunch hours, and but it was worth it. And funny enough, I'm having orientation next week because I'm doing another master's at USC. I'm
Okay.
starting one that's 100% online, but I will be doing all of that in the evenings, starting in
Okay.
a couple of weeks.
So
Yeah.
going back to school virtually, that's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Let me explore a little more on the civil engineering aspect. I
Yeah.
know that civil engineers, for the most part, if you're going into government for the most part, or if you want to get your own business, you have to take this engineering and training EIT, and then the
Hmm.
PE, the
Yeah.
professional engineering license test. So there's
Yes.
those two different type of tests that you have to go through. Does that apply if you follow a civil engineering track with the engineering construction management title as well, or can you not do those? What are the pros
Right.
and cons from your perspective?
Yes. I did the EIT, the engineering training exam, when I want to say, a junior at USC. So we did do it. We prepared together, and several of my classmates, we all went and did it. And that's a precursor to that professional engineering exam. And what you do is, like, if you do this, I mean, I think the EIT was 8 hour a day. We took 4 hours of exam, took a break, and then came back for another 4 hours. And the PE is probably 2 days of that at least, plus recommendations of additional professional engineers that you've worked with. So, but what you come out with is a stamp and the professional license for you to be able to be essentially liable for a design. So if you want to practice as a civil engineer, as in the design world, you're doing utilities, infrastructure, grading. There are several aspects that you could do, and there's a little bit of overlap, but now I believe there's a different license for a structural engineer versus a civil engineer. But you can go into this world and practice essentially as a true engineer, as a designer. When you go into the construction world, as a construction management, we do not require to have a license because we are not designing. We are not owning any of the liability that comes with the design. So while it's a nice to have. I mean, I don't want to say that it's not something that's required. It's more of a nice to have, but it's not a requirement when you are executing the design, when you are actually building. You want to make sure that everything that you are building is actually stamped and signed by a professional engineer, but we do not necessarily have to have those folks with as part of our team.
Right. Okay. Thank you for explaining that a little bit. And that's a little bit, I wanted to make that clarification just for individuals or students or young professionals that are trying to pursue
Hmm.
civil engineering, they're thinking, well, I can go in and not really do anything else after I graduate, get my bachelor's, but there is some additional testing that could possibly be required depending on the side of the industry. If you're going into the government side, maybe that's a little more requirement. Like Caltrans does
Mm,
require a lot of it, and if you want
yes.
to open up your own business, you need to have a professional engineering license if it's going to be an engineering firm of sorts. So
Right.
that's yeah.
If you want to have your own business as a construction company, what you want to have is a contractor's license,
Mm,
which is a different type of exam. It's not a professional
okay.
engineering license, which is a little different. But yes, I do think that even in the government with city, county, or Caltrans, even if necessarily you're not the one who is stamping the design, that having the professional engineering license does help in your opportunities of getting promoted and increasing your chances of promotion or getting a higher pay. It is definitely something that is regarded very highly.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that insight. So you graduated, but you were already working full time with Meta, right? So there was really no slowdown, no downtime for you in that regard. But I want you to go back when you're literally stepping through that, through that stage, receiving your diploma. Your mom, your dad, family members are in the crowd at USC, on the field, wherever they did this graduation ceremony, right? What is the fondest memory that you have from attending as a student, full on student, USC?
The the people, the friends I made. I mean, the campus is gorgeous, but I had a lot of pride, definitely in the day of graduation, having everybody come and support me. And I was a flag bearer, so I was chosen to, represent our group of civil engineering students upon graduating. And so to be able to have that flag that represented, our school, it was quite an honor. I think that I'm really proud of that, of achieving that together with my friends. And, some of the folks that I met there are my closest friends now, you know. So that's what I took away, the friendships.
Awesome. The friendships, that's the fondest
Mhm.
memory. That's great. And then, so the next phase, we're going to focus on Turner Construction. So for this, you're already working, you're graduating, but yet you're still doing the last latter part of your master's.
Mhm.
What to you, an individual coming from Tijuana, an immigrant, having gone to Southwestern Community College, USC, now working at an international company such as Turner, what did
Yeah.
that mean to you?
If I had to summarize it in one word, I would say stability.
Okay.
I was offered my full-time job in the fall of 2009. This was we were in the midst of the financial crisis. I was very fortunate that I had already have had internships with Turner, so I was already an active intern with them when they didn't give me a chance to actually interview elsewhere because they were like, no, we want you. But they so many companies were letting people go, including Turner. A lot of the workforce was gone, projects were on hold. It was a difficult time. However, I really, appreciated the fact that Turner never really stopped hiring, and that's something that I have seen throughout my years. Things go up and down with the market, but the recruiting the talent and bringing the people in is something that they haven't stopped doing, and that's a big, big deal from our company CEO. And so I was part of that group of students that came in at a tough time. So my offer was in the fall of '09, and I started officially late summer of 2010 after I graduated that year. So it meant definitely stability in uncertain times. And but because it is a big company, international, like you mentioned. So one of the amazing things from that is that certain cities are really, really busy. Some cities are really, really slow, and you have the ability to go back and forth and transfer within our own company so the talent is retained. Like I actually started working with Turner in Los Angeles because that's where I did my internships. and I worked out there full time for 2 years. And I asked a transfer to come back to San Diego to, live with my family in Chula Vista, and they were able to accommodate that, So it's really nice to have this vast network where we're the same company, we're everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So every corporation, every individual, such as yourself, myself, we all have core values. So I want you to share with me maybe two or three core values that you have at a personal level that align with the core values that Turner Construction Company has within their website, within their culture.
Yeah. The it's funny because they actually align perfectly with mine. Turner's values are teamwork, commitment, and integrity.
Okay.
And I think integrity for me personally, I typically go for integrity and reliability. But reliability and commitment really do align a lot. That the integrity of it brings in that honesty of not compromising who you are or your moral values with anything, always doing the right thing, whether it's personal or on a professional level. That's huge to me. And reliability, I am typically a person that, that I'll have your back. Like I don't like letting people down, and I always want to be there for others, and I really truly appreciate it when others are there for me too. So those are the things that I truly live by. I meet a lot of clients, we go to a lot of interviews pursuing projects, and often we are asked to introduce ourselves and pick a value of like what's the one word that describes yourself? And I generally pick reliable. Like, if you need something, I may not have the answer, but I will find it for you. Like, I got you.
Yeah. Okay, good. The reason I bring this up and I asked you is because I want the audience to know and to learn that because we are individuals that we all, whether we know it or not, we have core values. And as
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, Turner Construction in this case also has values. And a lot of the companies that you see every single website, you can find the core values that are listed there, right? And you mentioned that they align for you with Turner Construction Company very, very well. And that's important because if you have core values that are not in alignment with the corporation that you're working for, doesn't matter how much you actually get paid, doesn't matter what the job is, you're not going to be happy and you're not going to end up staying there for such a very long time. And you're going to end up looking somewhere else because it all comes down to the core values and how you feel and how you actually fit in. So that's why that question, I
Yeah.
believe, is important to clarify. Part of that is expectations and reality of the position. So you're going in as a intern and you probably had some expectations of Turner Construction, right? Of what the job is, what you were going to be doing, how you were going to be interacting with either the foreman or the construction project manager as a student. But then a couple years fast forward, what is the
Mhm.
reality of the position versus your initial expectations? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. I've had a lot of different roles at Turner. I've been fortunate to have been exposed to multiple facets of construction, but I knew coming in as an intern about how fast-paced the industry is. It is high action, high stress, long hours. It's very demanding, and it's very demanding, but it can be very, very rewarding. And I always knew like every day is gonna be different. So I kind of, came into it knowing that like that I get energized by it. But I was a project engineer. I had a chance of doing a project as a superintendent. So I was out there like overseeing the work myself and doing the schedule and dealing with all of the workers on site, managing that. It is tough work. It is tough work. I said I highly respect this. It is not for me. I went back into the engineering side, more of the, management, from the coordination behind the scenes. But I would say, fast forward now, it's been 17 years since I started working at the company. I am now in the pre-construction realm. So I'm in the office, I'm doing a lot of the planning, all the estimating and the budgeting and the coordination, way, way in advance of the actual construction side. So to me, I would say, I never really imagined that this is where my path would lead me to go from being on the field, boots on the ground every single day, to having that opportunity of sitting in the office as an estimator in an estimating role. Actually, the when I requested my transfer from the LA office to San Diego, I was offered a role as an estimator. They said, we can fit you and we would love to have you. We don't have a need in the field on a project, but you can be an estimator. And I said, you know what, let's give that a shot. And I fell in love with it. So I essentially, since then, that was in 2012. Since then, I've been in and out of that department, and now I'm running the department for our San Diego business unit. So I didn't imagine that this is where my career at Turner would lead me to, but I don't see it any other way. Like I would rather stay in pre-construction than go back to the field because I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. That's great. So that being said, you didn't imagine where your path would take you, and there's probably
Yeah.
a couple more turns that might be coming that you don't really see or were not expecting,
hmm
right? But if we could go back, what advice would you wish you had before you actually entered into as you were transitioning back from the LA to the San Diego office? What advice would it be as an estimator that you could utilize?
I hmm. I think I was always lucky enough to have mentors that I leaned on that gave me that advice. I always, I held on close to those that I had as mentors, still from Southwestern, still from SHIP, or still from LA. I One of the things that I remember doing actually as a member of SHIP student club in LA, I was the industry liaison. So I was in charge of finding professional folks that could come and speak to the group and just give pointers, right? So I was so lucky to have that one-on-one direct type of advice. But the things that I could share that really stuck with me that I've carried on is one of them. He was actually a Turner project executive and came and spoke to the group with SHIP when I was at USC, and he did the hands like just be all hands, and he would just like move all of his fingers with his hands, be all hands all the time, and don't ever sit back and wait for somebody to tell you what to do. Like always ask like, how can I help? What can I do? How can I make your life easier? If it was a colleague, a manager, whoever that was, finding a way to stay useful, like people will notice and you will be exposed to so much more. If there was, as an intern, nothing to do, just ask to go and follow somebody for the day, shadow that person. And I remember doing that with the superintendents that seemed, they were running the field, and these folks looked so intimidating, because they've been out there for years in the field and they can be a little rough around the edges. And was a little very shy gal coming into it. But just putting yourself in those positions where you can learn about what they do, why they do it, how do they interact with others. So doing that of saying, just don't ever sit back, just ask for what you can do, be all hands.
Okay, awesome. Be all hands. That's awesome. That's great. Something that you could definitely continue to implement as you're leading the team that you're leading right now with the Turner Construction Company in San Diego, as you're continue to grow your career with them.
Something I continue to do, I would say just don't forget to not forget that everybody is a human first. Yes, we're all coming to work every day. We are doing our best. We have so many commitments and we can get stressed out and we can get bogged down. But at the end of the day, we are all just human doing our best. We all have our families, we all have our struggles, we all have our challenges, or we have great news, great things happening. We're growing as families, myself included. I have a 6-year-old boy. I've been basically, I got engaged and got married through while at Turner, had my baby, was supported through the whole process. And so we're growing. We're not the same person that was at the last project. We are continuously on this path for being better. And I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed about being a manager with Turner in this current department is that I really get to support my team as individuals in their professional growth and their personal growth. You know, if something's off in their personal life, it comes up, it shows up, and it's you want to know how you can support them. Like, do they need to take a few, a couple of wellness days, of mental health days? Do they need to leave so they can take their child to the doctor? Like it's not the end of the world if they have an afternoon off so they can handle things at work. I mean, I know it. My boy's been sick in the middle of the night. Like you never know. Sometimes a person just needs rest or they need a day to work remotely to adjust and accommodate better to the situation at home. But just being attuned to what's going on with your team members is so important because again, we want to feel fulfilled. We don't want to come to work thinking we're just like another number or another, it's so important and it's something that I really try to do and I really enjoy the team and I think it makes us all feel like we're in a safe place. We can do our best and we're going to be celebrated and we talk about our tough times. We learn about our challenges and the projects we didn't win and we do better, but always making sure that at the core as a human we are where we need to be supported.
Awesome. Thank you. Great response. Is there anything you wish that you could go back and change, be it at your time with Turner, being a manager right now, or when you were an intern, or even going back to Southwestern or USC? Is
Yeah.
there anything in your past you want to change?
I I would say just have a little more fun
Okay.
when I was a
Okay.
student.
Okay. Okay.
I was just so dedicated all the time. I made really good friends and I still have these friends and I think that they matched kind of my energy, but I don't know. I think there was always for me staying out till late, it was a challenge. I think if I was sleep deprived, I couldn't really function. So
Mm,
for me, it was like, you want to take me out all night? Like I can't do that. So
mm,
I would rather go home and sleep.
right.
I still do actually.
Yeah.
But I would say maybe just have relax a little bit. At the end of the day, things will work out. So not forgetting to have fun. It's
Yes.
I've been a bookworm, my whole life, but I wouldn't change a thing really. But I could have had a little more fun.
Add a little more fun, obviously with safety and respect, right, for
Of
others
of
and the
course,
project.
yeah.
Yeah, but just making sure that you add a little bit of fun into your whole agenda and your schedule, just to for mental health. I think that's important.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very
No, but
important.
I had, I mean, honestly, like I had a great time. There was so much to do
Yeah.
out there. So I don't feel like I really needed the parties, but I really enjoyed going out to cultural events like USC did so much. So those are the kind of things that I really enjoy doing.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. This next phase is called rapid fire. The first question is, good leaders always create good leaders. Do you have any individuals you actually look up to? Who are your mentors?
Who are my mentors? Like, do I want people names? Yes, I would say Lorianne Stevens. She's the one who was my former manager. She's a vice president and design director at Turner. She was my manager at the Terminal One project. I really admire her tenacity. Like she's breaking barriers. She's the one who inspired me to go back to school. She went to law school, so I'm gonna get a master's in the studies of law. So her, I would say Dr. Raja Bakhiet. She passed away several years ago, but she was my mentor. She oversaw the Mesa program at Southwestern College. She was my first boss and became a really great friend through the years. I was the president of SHIP, and she was the director of the Mesa program. That's math. Mesa stands for Math, Engineering, Science Achievement, and we stayed in touch for many, many years. And Susan Reasons, she was my tennis coach at Southwestern College. I had never done sports in my life, and I tried tennis as a beginner at Southwestern College and got recruited to the tennis team, the women's tennis team through her. She's still my friend. We still hang out. and I just always have love having her in my life. She brings a lot of positivity. And one more person, David McConkey, he was a superintendent at Turner. I call him my Turner dad.
Okay.
He just taught me how to really work with folks in the field, to be humble and to collaborate. So those are my professional and personal friends and mentors.
Awesome, awesome. So you mentioned a little bit about your life, how you've grown over the years, family, you got married, you have a child, 6 year old son at this moment. But
Hmm.
there's probably, when you actually meet people and they actually ask you questions, there's probably one or two questions that you wish that people would actually ask you more about you, but seldomly do. Is there anything you want to share with us about?
Something that I wish they asked me?
Yes.
Oh, hmm. I feel like I always volunteer so much information because I love talking to new people. But I don't know, maybe about growing up.
Okay.
Grew up, how things were different growing up in Mexico. Um, but no, I don't know. I mean, I would say usually uh, people get and when I tell them I've been at Turner for 17 years, they look at me like, "Oh, really?" Like they don't see that I've had almost 20 years of experience, in the industry. So, getting acknowledged for that sometimes is a little bit of a struggle. Um, but no, I don't know. I don't feel like there's something that I would wish they would ask me. I about, being a mom, I would say I do mentor a lot of the younger women that start at Turner Construction. And I love it when they ask me about, motherhood and balancing that and going through it with in this industry that's really tough. There's not a lot of women. It's getting better, but there's not a lot of women in construction. So how do you balance that? Because I remember it was almost taboo. You didn't want to think about that, when I was, up and coming. And so yeah, those are the things that I love being asked about when they're starting. So I can show them like you can do it all. It's not easy, but if you stay with Turner, we have a lot of support to be
Awesome.
able to balance a healthy lifestyle with your work.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. What do you believe your superpower to be? You're a mom, so you do a lot, but what is your superpower?
Multitasking.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
I'd
yeah.
say yeah, multitasking and just being the glue, bringing people together,
Okay. At
bringing
work and
people
at home,
together.
I take it at work and at home.
Yeah, yeah, definitely at work. Definitely at work. It's just kind of like an integrator of being able to bring folks together that have different ideas. We have designers, we have architects, we have superintendents and engineers. So being at the core of bringing folks together to align, yeah, I would say that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Next question is any particular book, movie, podcast that you believe has made an impact in your life and you wish more people would actually take advantage of it?
I uh, I really enjoy the podcast from Michelle Obama.
Okay.
I love the speakers she has. I've been listening also to a podcast called Wiser Than Me with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She brings older women to just share their wisdom. I really like that because it's as women get older, there's just so much wisdom that comes from that, and you may not think of them as that source of that wisdom. And I really like hearing those stories. Um, I would say, yeah, movies, books, like I'm a bit of a romantic. I just read the Nightingale book. But I really switch back and forth between uh the memoirs. I'm reading like a oral biography on Anthony Bourdain, but I haven't read anything recently that really struck me to say like everybody should read this. So I'm hoping to find that book. If there's any recommendations, do
Okay.
let me know.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing those podcasts. Hopefully, people would
Yeah.
take advantage of the Michelle Obama podcast and definitely listen.
Yeah, that's great. And you know what? I did just think there's a book called The North Star or
Okay.
Following Your North Star. That one's for leadership.
Okay.
And that one, it was actually a book that I used, and it has like a workbook assigned to it as part of a leadership program.
Hmm.
that I did a couple of years ago, and that book brings in a lot of interviews with uh, famous leaders and folks that, celebrities or business folks. It's really, really good in helping you figure out what your North Star is and what your true values are and how you can become a better leader and a manager. That's actually so I lied before. I did really enjoy that book, reading it.
Following your North Star.
Your
Okay.
North Star,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that people get that noted. Okay,
Hmm.
great. What is your definition of success? You're a successful individual, but what is your definition of success?
You love coming home. You love going to work and you love coming home,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Just like it's that to me is like if you are fulfilled
Yeah.
and you truly enjoy doing that. I'm a homebody. I love, you know, being here, having fun with my boy, spending time with my husband. That's what I would think it means to be fulfilled.
Awesome. Loving to come home. Love that. The next question is, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to
Okay.
imagine that you are, as you're able to go back in time. You're able to go back to the Southwestern Community College campus, right there where the Jaguar is painted, and you're in the parking lot and you're walking towards the library and you see Viri Martino, 18-year-old. She's coming out of that office after having had that conversation with that counselor and having gotten guidance of what courses to take, what school to
Mhm.
possibly apply, and you have a minute or two to share three pieces of advice with her so her life is better equipped to continue moving forward. Can you open your eyes and tell us what those three pieces of advice are?
Um, I would say keep applying to those scholarships. Um, for sure. Like that was would really I know that that's what really helped me get through my college, degree. Keep applying to those scholarships, but honestly, it would be, so just do not compromise who you are and your values for whatever reason. So stay true to yourself, follow your North Star, like you have a plan and you'll follow it, but don't let others deviate you from what you want to do, where you want to be. Um, and I would say, and this is something that I heard from a speaker one time at a conference, there are going to be a lot of things that you can control and some things you cannot control. When you can control them, you just work really, really hard to make the best out of it. But sometimes, and this happens a lot, you just don't have control over it. And you just have to say, like you have to move on. You cannot let that bog you. So, but if you can have an impact on how that's going to work out, just do your best, do your absolute best every time.
Awesome, thank you. So keep applying to those scholarships. Keep true to
Yeah.
yourself, follow your North Star, and do not get bogged down if you cannot control what is out of your control. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Just
thank you
keep
so
moving
much.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you might want to add that we might have not covered?
We've covered a lot. No, I mean this has been a great conversation. It really took me down memory lane.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I I would just like to reemphasize, and it's been great to reconnect with my ship roots. To I'm realizing I've always known that, but it's a really nice reminder of how important that was in my growth and how important that I know still can be. Having connected with you, with Mike Cruz, who was a mentor as a student, a mentor as a professional, and I recently reconnected with him again as a ship emeritus, the like there's still always going to be a way to give back and to get involved. And that's something I try doing, keeping, paying it forward as a mentor in local high schools with students at Southwestern. I actually created a scholarship for students in engineering at Southwestern. that my company's matching. So there's always opportunities to give back, and sometimes it just means your time. So I know I'm going to continue doing it, and I invite others, professionals, to keep doing that. Like I had so many mentors and so many resources, so now I can be one of them. So at Turner and outside of Turner, that's the opportunity to offer time to mentor others is always going to be there. So I'm excited to continue on that journey.
Thank you, Viri. That's great insight, great perspective. I'd like to acknowledge you for your 17 years at Turner, for the consistent perseverance that you have as a manager within your group here in San Diego. I'd like to acknowledge you for being a perseverant student at Southwestern Community College, moving on to USC, and finally graduating with a civil engineering degree, moving on to Turner, and getting a successful career and growing your family with your husband and your 6-year-old son. So I'd like to acknowledge you for that and your ability to see and trying to help the community by giving back and being a mentor and a role model in that sense. So with that, thank you so much for being here with us, Success Innovation. So we'll definitely appreciate you. To the audience, thank you for joining us. We'll hope to see you next time. Hasta luego. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this incredible conversation with VIRY Martino. Please connect with her at her social media and reach out with any questions. See you next time. Bye-bye.